Tell us what you think. In person, over the phone, online. Watch and hear yourself on TV. You tell us, we air it. This is The Local Live.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of The Local Live. As always, I'm Anthony Carlo.
And I'm Kat Galliano. We're bringing you the only news show that covers Mamaroneck, Larchmont, and the Rhinebeck communities.
Let's take a look at the news we have tonight.
In our roundtable discussion later, we're talking with Mamaroneck School Board Superintendent Dr. Robert Shops about the school budget.
What's the new parking resolution on Mamaroneck Avenue? Stay tuned.
The Rhinebeck boys lacrosse team made our LMC Varsity Sports Play of the Week.
What's a kitchen boutique? Estelle Gourmet Cafe is in the spotlight.
And finally, meet our pet of the week.
The new parking resolutions proposed by a consulting company was the hot topic at Monday's Mamaroneck Board of Trustees meeting. Here's Sabila Chipaziwa with what happened.
Tonight is April 27th, and we're at the Mamaroneck Village Court, where over 20 residents and business owners have voiced their concerns regarding the new parking resolutions on Mamaroneck Avenue.
We need additional parking, and the revenue is a good idea from 6 to 9, but we need more parking, additional parking. Flipping after a 2-hour period is not going to resolve long-term issue. It's always going to be a problem.
Second is that I want to address the issue about the 2-hour limit in a zone. I went down and I visited Washington, D.C., which uses this system, and I have to say that it really left a bad taste in my mouth because
it said Mamaroneck, the friendly village. I would like to know now who stays up at night taking up these cockamamie ideas of turning it to the unfriendly village of Mamaroneck.
But you guys cannot even enforce what you have in place already. You can't enforce what you have in place already.
The changes suggested in the parking study, done by Walker Parking Consultants, are to have people park Mamaroneck Avenue for 2 hours, between only 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. every day, excluding Sundays and holidays, changing from the current 2-hour parking law ending at 6 p.m. A 3-hour bar on parking in the zone of Mamaroneck Avenue will be imposed, as the new multimeter system to be installed will take note of license plate numbers, and simply moving your car to another spot on Mamaroneck Avenue, to be divided into zones 9A and 9B, or adding more time to a meter, will no longer be allowed. Even before 7:30 p.m., the courtroom was buzzing. The parking resolutions were moved up after the mayor saw the large turnout. Business owners from Robert's Department Store, 360 American Grill, Molly Spillane's, and more, as well as residents, let the board know their thoughts on these resolutions that would affect their employees and patrons if passed.
And as a restaurant, you're going to come to my restaurant. Thank God we got a good rating. We got a little line outside the door. Okay? Now you wait 20 minutes to eat. You got 6 of your friends. You come in, you sit in the back, you want to have a drink. It's a beautiful night out. You're limited to not only eating in my restaurant for 2 hours, but you have to have a chauffeur come bring another car and take your car away so you don't get a ticket because you can't be here for someone. I can understand moving it down or paying extra like the gentleman said. That makes sense, but you're going to chase everybody out of this food town. There's a reason it's a food town. It's by the water, we've got great restaurants, and we have people that pay meters. You want to extend the meters to 9 o'clock? Fine, but you can't tell them that after 2 hours, you're done, you got to go home. Whoever thought of that just wasn't thinking. And I don't know if anybody that thought of that does any business in this town other than being on the board.
What about the special needs people, the old people? You got all the reasons here in this room tonight not to do it. You've got all the reasons not to do it. You've got all the reasons not to do it for $75,000. In my opinion, we should be ashamed of ourselves.
Suggestions such as charging long-term parkers more to clearer signs pointing to more parking elsewhere were mentioned to the board. Attention was also called to drivers who deal with disabilities and the elderly. Tensions grew, not just from village residents and business owners to the board, but also among trustees. Trustee Miller called for politeness and respect twice, especially for Trustee Porak as the public comments drew to a close.
It's me to see the disrespect that the community has for this particular individual up here, unfortunately, tonight. It's really, what we do is really hard. And I'll tell you, I'm going to say it outright there. What Leon does is really difficult. And, not everything is a win, and not every idea is a good idea. But I challenge you to come up with an idea that will put you in front and center and up on the TV every other night and present it to a community to be given feedback on.
Discrepancies in the parking study carried out by Walker Parking Consultants were also called to attention, including the observation from business owners that they weren't approached by the company on their thoughts on the study. Mayor Rosenblum himself was not a fan. The 2 parking resolutions have been tabled until further notice.
Well, I think what happened, first of all, I'm totally against it. But what this clearly demonstrated is democracy works in the village of Mamaroneck, because I believe the majority of this board was going to pass these 2 resolutions. And the only reason I didn't pass it was because the overwhelming comments against it. And again, I said it publicly before, it's lunacy to do this. Right now, we are the #1 destination in Westchester County. We've been rated as #1 by 2 major magazines that we are #1 in New York State. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Of course, you always look for revenue. Revenue is nothing more than taxes. The majority of the people that come to the village of Mamaroneck, and we estimate at least conservatively 2 million visitors a year, you're going to scare those people away. It's not too far away that you can go from #1 destination to #1 joke. And that's what this village is going to turn into if these things are ever passed.
It's been over 2 hours and there's yet to be a resolution. Regardless of the differences in opinion, all can agree that parking is a problem in the friendly village. I'm Sibylla Chipaziwa, reporting for the Local Live from the Mamaroneck Village Court.
We are going to be following this story and update you as soon as we have more information. At the same municipal meeting, the budget for the Village of Mamaroneck was passed unanimously. If you would like to watch the full meeting, remember that you can always log on to www.lmctv.org.
Now it's time for In the Media. Let's take a look at what's trending in our online newspapers.
Do you want to find out how many years you have left to live? Well, the Larchmont-Mamaroneck patch reports that the average life expectancy in the district is 81.6 years, which is about 2.5 years more than the national average. This ranks Larchmont and Mamaroneck 58th among the nation's 435 districts. On the less morbid side of news, a bite-sized playground opened up in the village of Mamaroneck according to the Mamaroneck Review. The playground is known as the Jewel of Mamaroneck and is open for children ages 2 to 5. It features 4 pieces of equipment that focus on core strength and balance. Mamaroneck is gearing up for Mother's Day with an amazing chocolate pop-up shop. The store, titled Chocolations, features products such as truffles, ice cream pop-ups, obviously, and the Make Your Own Chocolate Bark feature. Let me repeat that. You can make your own chocolate bark on the Chocolations website. You can worry about your weight tomorrow. With tons of gluten-free products showing up lately, a lot of people have been jumping on the gluten-free diet. Although this diet is great for gluten-sensitive and allergic people, it lacks essential vitamins, minerals, and essentials for a healthy individual. You can find more steps on dealing with the gluten-free diet on loha.com. On Friday, Westchester will start applying larvicide to county catch basins. These basins are used to catch rainwater from roads and send it to earth. To reduce the West Nile virus, this larvicide will prevent the mosquitoes that spread the said virus to breed. Residents are encouraged to remove standing water from their properties, especially right after it rains. And those are our trending stories in the media this week. I'm Christian Sokole.
And we'll be back in just a moment with Superintendent Shaps in our roundtable discussion of the Mamaroneck school budget.
Hi, I'm State Senator George Latimer, and I encourage you to watch every week the Local Live. I was going to say something like, I live in Rye, but if I lived in Larchmont and Mamaroneck, I would watch the Local Live every week. And I just remind... Thank you.
Hello, I'm Michael Witch, and I'm here to remind you that on May 19th, you are going to have the privilege of voting for your school district budget and voting for members of the Board of Education at the same time. And tonight's topic is the proposed spending plan for the Mamaroneck schools for next year. And as always, you are invited to participate. And I'm here with Rebecca Berman.
Hi, Mike. Yes, so please email us, tweet us, and or call in, and we'd love to take your questions on the show tonight.
And we're pleased to have as our guest Dr. Robert Chaps, who is the superintendent of schools in Mamaroneck. Thank you for coming again.
It's my pleasure to be here.
And we have the air conditioning on for both of us tonight to make it a little cooler. I'm going to use a document that you already have on your district website, which is called A Budget at a Glance, as sort of a template for questions tonight. And hopefully you'll be able to give us an illustration or two
Absolutely.
Of some of the things. But I'd like to start at the very bottom of that document, the numbers, the big numbers, like the total amount of money that's going to be spent is?
It's $133,898,902, I believe.
You've got that memorized.
Yes. Well,
yes. And the budget-to-budget increase over last year?
I think it's 1.54%.
I think you're right.
It's about $2 million.
And the tax levy increase is a proposed 1.52?
Yes, 1.7 million above our current tax levy.
Okay. Now the legal limit is noted here as 1.89. That's the tax cap?
Right. So we're really operating in year 4 with the tax cap law, which essentially through a formula, each school system is allowed to grow by a certain result and not exceed that unless they go for a supermajority. This is our third annual budget that actually is significantly lower than the allowable cap limit. So in this particular budget, we're actually lower by $462,000. And in our first 2 years, we were lower than 1.5 million to the allowable limit, and the following year, 1 million. So we've tried to understand the impact, certainly the fiscal impact on our taxpayers, and tried to match what we need in terms of the support, what I would say is the continuous growth of our school system, but honor the commitment of our taxpayers. So,
and this also allows the tax rebate program to be in effect for our taxpayers?
So last year was the first year of Governor Cuomo's statewide tax rebate, and we were very happy that our budget qualified for the rebate. And I believe last Friday, the numbers came out that 3,500 Mamaroneck residents received a tax rebate. And so this year, in year 2, the rebate or eligibility is really based on shared services or long-term savings. And we believe this budget qualifies for year 2 of the tax rebate.
Well, that's certainly good news. However, the tax is going up. The school tax would go up under this proposed budget. I believe it is 1.74?
Right. It's equivalent to 24 cents per thousand. And it goes from to $14 per thousand. I think for the average home assessed in our community, at 1.1 million, that would be roughly a $263 increase.
Okay. So we're going to talk hopefully about some of the items that qualify for that. And before we get into the discussion, I should remind the viewers, if they don't know already, I'm a retired Mamaroneck school teacher. So full disclosure there, folks. But I'm not in the district. I live in the Rhine-Neck district.
You know, it's interesting. I wanted to mention, you started out with the numbers. And what's interesting to me is that throughout our budget development process and our presentation to communities, our emphasis is that the budget's really a collection of numbers, but it really articulates what we value and what we want to accomplish for our school system. So I think it's important to look at it that way, because it should represent what we hope for all of our students.
I'm glad you brought that up, but I think in the media they always go to the numbers first for a reason. I guess maybe it's easier to understand, or that's what they think that the readers want to hear is the numbers. But you're right. In fact, on the top of the document that I referred to earlier, it says engage, empower, inspire, setting the bar high for every student in the district. So that is the theme.
That is the theme. I think we're certainly happy within this budget to invest in the future and certainly deal with the present. There are a number of initiatives that we have prioritized, but to kind of get to the tagline, the idea of to inspire, to empower, to engage. We know when students are engaged in both academic activities and certainly extracurricular, they meet with great success. And so we're trying to certainly focus on the social emotional well-being of our students, our academic well-being, and certainly the fiscal well-being of our community around sustainability.
Yeah, well, that's a difficult balancing act, is it not?
Absolutely. I think certainly what I'm most proud about is that between the Board of Education, certainly our stakeholders, we really want to focus on what we believe Mamaroneck education should look like. So for example, in terms of new initiatives, we're pleased to roll out next year at Mamaroneck High School a 4-year design sequence. So we're fortunate to have a faculty member who is a graduate of Parsons School of Design. She worked for quite some time in the real world of design, and we've developed a 4-year program that is going to allow students to learn foundational skills and knowledge in the field of design, but it culminates in a senior year in a multidisciplinary project.
So this is associated with different departments, not just an art department, it's
really, it takes into consideration of all the elements of design, so marketing, so I would say art, certainly of communications. We're looking to partner with an organization that focuses on design to solve problems. So there's a social conscience or element to that that really makes it exciting. So how do our students think about design to solve a problem, to support or advance the needs of society? So it's exciting.
You've got another highlight, which is that composter at Hommick?
Yeah, so I was fortunate to write a grant with Dr. Seth Weitzman, and also in collaboration with the Largemont Mamaroneck Garbage Commission. Yeah. We have been looking to be the first public school system in Westchester County to purchase a rocket composter. Our idea here is that how do we kind of embed sustainability education in our schools? This is a product that is used in higher education at Columbia University in their food system, St. John's and so forth.
Is this like a big machine?
It is a big metal composter, and so our students really will be, at the middle school, will be in charge of organizing food waste. That food waste will be separated and will be put into the rocket composter, and in a short time, the students will mix wood chips and really look at the heat and temperature and really go through the process of managing compost. Our goal is to donate Hommick's compost to the community for gardens and really support our greenhouse at the Hommick School. So it's a great hands-on opportunity.
It sounds like a great learning experience.
Absolutely,
for these kids.
We're excited by it.
Yeah, learning by doing.
Exactly.
Nothing like it. And there's another program at the high school you're going to add with this budget, and that is in graphics?
Yes.
No, is it? No, technology. I think
technology. Well,
right.
We've had a very strong push the last 3 years in interest in computer science, and last year was the first year of our high school robotics program. Our students participated at the regional level in a robotics competition. We've developed a 3-year course sequence in computer science. We have over 125 students who are enrolled in our computer science program. Next month, a group of sophomores will travel to Florida to compete in the American Computer League National Finals. It really is an international competition. Earlier in the year in fall, we had over 70 students participate in the Carnegie Mellon University Cyber Security Competition. So it extends this idea of learning about coding, but really to kind of test that knowledge in what I would say authentic learning experiences. So we're looking to expand it. We are one of the first schools to focus on physical computing using Raspberry Pi microprocessors, really giving the students the connection between how you think about coding and computer science and what the actual products look like. 2 weeks ago, the board accepted a donation for a high-end fridge, a chill fridge that is really a smart refrigerator. It really comes with a number of USB ports, and allows students to write code and really, in some ways, operate a refrigerator to do a lot of things, change in temperature. It will really contribute to a lot of experiences, whether it's our research program or computer science program. So the overarching theme really is, how do we encourage authentic learning? How do we allow students to gain the skills and knowledge for the future? And that is technology in many ways. It's STEAM and STEM, and we're excited by it.
Well, STEM we know is science, engineering, technology.
Science, technology, engineering, math.
Okay.
And STEAM adds the art component into it. And I think we are certainly fortunate to have a great relationship with our STEM Alliance in our community. In 2 weeks we'll have our second annual STEM-tastic Day. At the elementary and middle schools, our students are doing a number of activities that are, really talk to this idea of tinkering, developing, maker, we would say, opportunity to really learn about hands-on activities. And our goal is to expand it through this budget. The timing is great because New York State is about to adopt the next generation science standards. So in this budget, we really have added a number of resources for our students, but also to have a vision for K-12 science education in the years ahead through professional development. We're working with Dr. Helen Pashley, who is a zoologist, and really focusing on restructuring our K-12 science education.
You haven't left sports out of the budget either. You've managed to, in this budget, you've managed to restore some athletic teams that were cut earlier?
There are really two important areas, I think, of engagement that is part of this budget. First, in 2010, the Board of Education eliminated 7 teams, and for the last really 5 years, our community has really rallied to raise funds to reinstate the teams through donations. We felt, given the strong interests of our students, it was time to think about adding back. So we are adding 4 teams back into our athletic program and adding the 5th team that is with the popularity as boys lacrosse, a second modified boys lacrosse team. At the same time, our K-12 music program of band, orchestra, and chorus has been growing incredibly in terms of interest. And so through this budget, we're actually increasing our staffing at the elementary level for band and orchestra to really accommodate the growing number of students who are playing instruments and are singing. We want to ensure to maintain the quality of our program, so the staffing is an important piece to that.
I'm sorry to make you jump around from one topic to another, but the literacy ambassador.
Yes.
I think I read about that in the Mamaroneck Review. Can you explain what that is?
Certainly. I think there's 2 pieces to it. For the last several years, we're really focusing on how reading really is central to academic success, that is across disciplines. In our elementary schools, we have, as we say, 2,600 readers, and our job is really promote the love of reading, but it's this idea that the research really points to high volume of high success reading. So the more we can put books in the hands of our students and really ensure they go up the ladder of text complexity, we know that will focus on critical thinking skills, comprehension. And so the literacy ambassador position is really designed to focus on to ensure consistency of our classroom libraries. We don't use a basal reader or reading program, so it's our rich libraries that really allow us teachers to put books in the hands of each student and really choice of books. So the first aspect of this new position is to really ensure that across our 4 schools, our classroom libraries are up to date. So it's really a curator's role. The second is to support teacher and librarians in this idea of book matching. So if you like chapter books, it's how do we find and ensure that as a student you have those just right books. And so it's really working across the district. And finally, we really believe the formula for success in reading is tied to the school-home partnership. And so working with community, working with parents to really ensure that reading is happening all the time is critically important. So we feel it's part of the theme of investing in the future as well. So it's a good initiative.
At the same time that you're adding staff positions, the Board of Ed also is proposing cuts. I think it's 2.5 positions, and they're.
I think the reductions.
Special education.
Sure, the reductions are really, as you mentioned, are aligned to changes in certain student populations, so the needs of students, and also efficiencies around clerical staff. So, we're pleased that we're adding this and certainly investing in significant staffing increases. At the same time, year to year, when we see opportunities for reductions. We do identify reductions in staff and make those recommendations to the Board of Education.
Is the board mindful of the, down the road, you staff needs support, health insurance, pensions, and all that stuff? Is that built into, or is that planned ahead of time for
Absolutely.
the following years?
I think we have certainly spent a lot of time in the fall through our Finance Committee identifying our fiscal priorities that really support the sustainability of the district over time. So when we budget, it's not just for one budget year. It's really look broadly over the next several years, to your point. There are several things to talk about with specific to that question about staffing and the impact over time. The first thing is that since 2010, our enrollment has increased by 5%. And so for the last several years, under the tax cap, we really haven't been able to invest in staffing. And at this point, because of our elementary class size guidelines, because of our increased enrollment at the middle school, we're well over 1,200 students now. We find it necessary to keep class sizes down and invest in staff.
For some people who just don't understand the whole idea of maintaining class sizes, as a former classroom teacher, it's important that numbers not be overwhelming. I mean, because education is different these days. It's not a lecture to a group of 30 kids.
Absolutely. I think, number one, we believe that quality teaching is the most important aspect of that experience. And so finding the highest quality teacher and supporting teachers in the growth of their work is critically important. That being said, the board has adopted class size guidelines. We know that in terms of learning, that the more a teacher can give full attention to fewer students, certainly we optimize and create those conditions. In terms of the next several years, we do anticipate to see a number of retirements. And so as we add staff and our staff changes, our overall budget for staffing will balance out. Also, this is the first year that we've seen significant savings in the reduction of pension contributions. So from that aspect, we're able to really invest in new staff based on some savings in two major areas. One is lower contribution rates for pension, which is the first year, and we anticipate that will continue over the next several years. The second is that we switched to a self-pay health insurance for all of our employees and retirees. And through that process, for the last 2 years, we've been able to save over $2 million to the taxpayers. So again, when you combine both the pension contribution reductions and then the savings from health, it really allows us to grow our budget, but manage to take advantage of savings.
The committee that guides the Board of Education, is that a fair term, guide? Does it offer suggestions, the financial committee?
So when I arrived in the district in 2010, I suggested that we bring the community in terms of ensuring transparency, but also taking advantage of the professional knowledge and interests of our community members. And so we established a Citizens Finance Advisory Committee. And what's interesting, in the first couple of years, we really charged them to focus on specific projects like analyzing our tax certiorari reserve, or looking at the ratio of reserves and so forth and so on, but also to this idea of advice and consent. They really were a part of the budget development process and allowed them to fully understand our long-term plan. So that's been in place for certainly the last 5 years, and we've really appreciated their point of view. And it's more to advise and provide a sounding board based on their level of interest and expertise.
So when the board reduced its reserves for certioraries and things like that, that is a result of the advice?
Sure, that would be an example. So 3 years ago, we asked them to try and give us some formula that would, or at least in some ways, give some rationale and a basis for setting aside reserves in anticipation of tax certiorari settlements. And so that work has led to certainly our adopting a particular strategy. I think similarly, the Finance Committee this year was very much interested in lowering the overall ratio of our reserves. And through this budget, we've been able to reduce several reserve categories that are restricted, like unemployment reserves, workman compensation reserves. And also, so the idea is to say, how can we demonstrate fiscal responsibility over time by slowly reducing reliance on reserves? And this budget reflects that. At the same time, we've continued with the practice of using fund balance to actually lowering our overall tax levy. So you started out by talking about how do we keep taxes down?
Right.
And we really have been relying on fund balance to lower the levy the following year, and now we've made a commitment to reduce our reliance on that as well. So that's the second example of fiscal responsibility.
Yeah.
A question has come in.
Sure.
Are there any changes on the transportation school policy?
No, actually, the board adopted a new policy last year. This is the first year of that policy. We actually found that the anticipated savings that we thought we would realize is really coming through this year, and so we're planning to continue to keep that policy intact going forward.
Is there ever a temptation by one or more board members to say, well, let's take this extra money and reverse our decision from last year?
No, I think, and again, we have been fortunate to identify a number of efficiencies over the last 5 years, and to operate on the assumption that we need to reduce in order to grow in certain areas. And I think we take every situation or any decision seriously and invest time and effort to really understand certainly how that decision will help us in the long haul. I think the transportation decision, the athletics decisions, it allows us to look broadly and really prioritize. And we feel in this regard that the decision to change the policy will support savings over time. And so far it's worked out that way.
To those, we're almost out of time, but I just wanted to ask one more question. To those who say there was an increase in state aid, right? Unexpected state aid, I believe. Apply it to tax relief. Just reduce everybody's taxes. Sure. What do you say to those folks? I mean, personally, as a teacher, I think investing in kids is like the best investment you could make.
Sure. I would say that we've been able to accomplish all the above. We received $200,000, or we expect to just receive $200,000 more in state aid. So we did not necessarily gain that certainly advantage compared
that
to
was built in?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I would say that as we have anticipated the increase in state aid, we also reduced this budget from where we started. And I think, again, I'm most proud of the fact that we've certainly are eligible through this budget for a rebate. Two, that we are lower than the allowable cap by almost $500,000. So we are sensitive to this idea of our taxpayers and their commitment to our school system.
And those who are not parents, but still live in the community and still pay taxes, the value of the schools for them?
The value is on the strength of the product. It's interesting, many school districts in the area are having declining enrollment. We are increasing. And I like to believe that it's attributed to the programs we offer, the experiences, the type of education our students enjoy, and the results of this education. So I think I would say is that having a strong public school system really will ensure property values and the interest to move and live in Mamaroneck and Larchmont.
And not to mention that there are plenty of programs that the schools offer that are available to all residents.
Absolutely.
You don't have to have children in the school district.
I think the partnership between the school system and the broader community is critically important, and the board this year certainly went on a community listening tour, really sought input from its citizens, and we want to bring as many people as we can into the school to volunteer, to be a part of our concerts, and really just enjoy the fruits of a strong public school system.
Well, this has been very informative. I'd like to remind you folks that you can still register to vote. If you're not registered, May 14th is the last day to register in the school district office on Boston Post Road. And the absentee ballot is on the website. And there's lots of information on the school district website. I mean, we've touched a little bit on it tonight, but there's lots of information there.
Well, if we had more time, I could tell you more, but it's a great opportunity to speak about where we're at and the budget we've put forth to our voters, and certainly looking forward to May 19th.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Robert Chapp, Superintendent of Schools in Mamaroneck. Wish you well in the next vote.
Thank you.
And stay tuned. We have more local news coming right up after this.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
You guys are watching the local live. Stay tuned.
Woo!
Yeah.
This week in sports, the Rhinebeck boys lacrosse team kept rolling along with a 10-9 win over Dobbs Ferry, improving their record to 10-3. In the third quarter, a ground ball turned into a piece of offensive mastery in the LMC Varsity Sports Play of the Week.
And still loose as Broom fights for it, and he's got it. Cameron Broom unloads to Sevion, who's got an advantage out in front. He passes, shot, scored. Tremendously executed. Cameron Broom, noticing that Sevion is fast and open, found the ball, got it to him. And Sevion got the defenders to commit, found Gottlieb, and a quick catch and shoot. 9-5 Rye-Neck.
It amazes me how these kids play so many different sports. I mean, Sevion and Gottlieb, I remember calling their football games. Now it's lacrosse. It's unbelievable, the athleticism.
And I'm biased. I'm a Rye-Neck Panther, so I'm an alum. So for this week's In the Spotlight, we feature a new French cafe called Estelle Gourmet that has opened on Palmer Avenue in Larchmont. They offer French cuisine, catering, and cooking classes with healthy, balanced meals for all who are interested. I was there, so here's the story. We're here in the village of Larchmont at Estelle Gourmet, which specializes in French cuisine, catering, and also offers classes. We're going to meet with Estelle herself, who's going to give us an inside look at one of her lessons. Owner and chef Estelle Lebrecht hails from Paris, France, where she has had a passion for cooking since she was a young girl. After being a private chef for over 2 years, she is now taking on Larchmont with her own storefront. You can enjoy some pastry, soups, and crepes, or else sign up for a private cooking class where she will show you how to make some traditional French dishes. We popped into today's private lesson where Estelle was busy cooking up a storm with the ladies. We even got to sample some of the dishes, and let me just say, they were even more delicious than they looked. Estelle's vision for her cooking boutique is simple. It's about good food and a great atmosphere.
For me, what is very important, because the cuisine we can always learn it at school or have a very nice technique, but for me what is very important is the flavor and the quality of the ingredients. So that is what I want people to feel first, is very the spirit of the food. It's not only put everything together with nice technique, but the food should speak to the people.
And lastly, we asked Estelle how she would describe her food. Well, let's just say she couldn't just pick one.
One word will be passion and flavor and love. It's not one word, but 3 words. It's okay.
That's how good it is, ladies and gentlemen. There's 3 words.
Yeah, because we are generous. That is why.
So passion, flavor, and love. If you're in the mood for great food and friendly hospitality, check out Estelle Gourmet. This is Kat Galliano for The Local Live.
You're watching on The Local Live on LMC TV.
Our pet of the week is Abby. If you would like to meet and adopt her, contact the New Rochelle Humane Society at www.newrochellehumanesociety.org.
As always, for more information on the stories you just saw, visit our website, lmctv.org, and any concerns, questions, or comments, make sure to email us at thelocallive@lmctv.org.
I'm Anthony Carlo.
And I'm Kat Galliano. We'll see you next week on another episode of The Local Live.
Take care.
Tell us what you think. In person, over the phone, online. Watch and hear yourself on TV. You tell us, we air it. This is The Local Live.